I'm Joe Levija. I'm with ATG USA, and today we're going to be going over the CTC MEP Productivity Pack, and we're going to discuss using design and coordination schedules for plumbing. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to chat those questions out. Within this webinar here, what we're looking to do is I'm looking to just discuss the different schedules related to the plumbing and the mechanical productivity pack, and then we'll look at some of what those options are, and we will discuss utilizing some of those for design and the design process, as well as utilizing some of these for the contractor side of the business as well. So if you have any comments or anything, definitely please feel free to throw it in the notes or into the chat, and I'll do my best to get it in here. So, but without further ado, if you guys can all see my screen here, I've got our Revit sample project pulled up for the MEP Productivity Pack. And in my project browser over here, this is our schedule section. So you can see all the different schedule options that are out here. And we're going to just take a dive into some of these schedules today. So the first set of schedules I'm going to look at is I'm going to roll into this space schedule. And we all know with plumbing, in general, when we're setting up our project. So for you, those of you who are just who do the drafting and you guys start working and modeling, but don't have to necessarily partake in some of that project setup, the initial drawing manager for your project will set up spaces, so that way, one, you can see the name of that room that you're working in, as well as the room number, but also within spaces. If we look up here on the Analyze tab, there is information in here for those of you who are doing some calculations based upon spaces. This is where you set all that stuff up in order for certain reports to be ran and information along those lines. So the way spaces work, they just follow off of what the architect has in their project for the room bounding. So you'll see in this space schedule here, we have the room number, the room name, the area for that room, as well as volume. We got offset information in here, unbounded heights, and so on and so forth. And then we can discuss some of the ceiling stuff in here as well. So this is just one of our space schedules that we have provided in our MEP Productivity Pack. I like to utilize a space schedule, and I'll duplicate this on occasion when I'm creating a schedule. And when I'm doing all my spaces throughout the course of a building, I can pull the information from the architect's plan. So if I wanted to pull all their room names and room numbers based upon the room bounding, I can pull that and then go through, drop all my spaces, come in the schedule, and basically copy stuff right on over. So that was one of the ways that I worked around getting all this information updated, because it doesn't necessarily, when you put that space in there, doesn't necessarily populate the correct name and the correct room number. It just pulls some of that basic information, such as square footage and area information, out of that room. So this is one of those schedules that are out here. Okay, and there are a variety here. So we got, for space schedule, we also have the space schedule bounded by ceiling. So this just kind of takes that overall schedule and reduces it down to just certain pieces of information. There's also a space schedule designed for no room bound, and then a sorted by space schedule. So And all these are very important in your initial project setup, because when getting a project in the early stages and stuff like that, your engineers will take some of this information, and this could be how they put their estimate together. This could be how you guys start your design process and everything along those lines, and say, maybe for this room, we're working in mechanical or something along those lines. This is the square footage. Well, this is how much supply air I need to push into this room, or this is how much return air needs to come out, so on and so forth. So great schedule to have, great for setup. This is one of those options that are out there. So let's now scroll through, and we'll also look here at some of the plumbing schedules now. So if you can see, there's a long list of schedules that we have out here. The first schedule we're going to look at is going to be the plumbing accessories. We'll take a peek into this. So accessories for domestic expansion and tank. So just keep in mind, like you're seeing right here, that we've got an ID on our family that we placed out here, DET-1. Gives us the location and the room number. So Aunt May's house, number 120. So we've got this information out here. It tells us the system, the tank volume, the acceptance volume, pressure relief. And then we got the dimensions on that tank as well, and its unit weight. So, and if we'd like, we can always add in any type of remarks that we might have. For instance, if we were to throw something in here, OFCI, we can always add some of that information out here as well. So the idea, though, with this schedule is, if for those of you who don't necessarily utilize schedules as much, or you're starting to learn and come into the world of schedules, we have families that are built up with different parameters, and those parameters actually can be pulled and dropped into a schedule. So also something else to keep in mind, if we needed to add additional information into this schedule, there are options here in the properties palette to where we can add additional pieces of information. So say you guys needed a cost, you could always add cost in here. You can move it around up or down, and then now you got cost. So some quick options for those who are new to schedules and moving into schedules. Within the CTC tools as well, we also offer the Schedule Excel and the Spreadsheet Link, to where we can push and pull, per se. So with Spreadsheet Link, I can take the schedule, I can push this out in order for it to hit Excel, so that way some of those PMs and engineers who necessarily don't get inside of Revit as frequently, we can send a report out to Excel, so that way they can take that to whatever meeting or do whatever calculations that they need to, or cross-reference, or so on and so forth. So, and then Schedule Excel allows us to take an external Excel schedule and bring that into Revit without having any type of issue with having it in here already pre-created, or having those cells in here or anything like that. We could take a non-native Excel schedule and actually bring it into Revit and be able to adjust it and play with it in Revit. So cool features. But so this is our schedule here for our domestic expansion tank. And as I said before, it's just basically pulling off of these parameters that are already built into our families that are out here. Here is going to be our pipe accessory schedule. Within this pipe accessory schedule, we also have ID information already pre-built out there. There's count information, so we've got some of that quantity out here as well, which is great for both sides of the business. So if you're on the design side, it gives you the ability to kind of keep track of some of that information, so that way you can keep counts of what's currently in your building. And then when we come out to the contracting side, so once CDs are submitted and a contractor comes on board, this will allow the person who's doing the estimating to see some of the counts that are currently in here, so that way they have something to cross-reference with as well. And then there's also descriptive information in here, so manufacturer, model, a description of the exact part, some of that other additional information. When we get over here, we've got fluid properties and valve properties. So some of that information is included in here, so that way whoever gets this project can also verify what's going through these pipes and these accessories and everything along those lines. So that way they can make sure that they've got the best option there. So keep in mind, for some of you guys who are in the contracting side of the world, some companies definitely will come into Revit. They'll set their systems up, they'll set their pipe types up and everything like that, and it will be almost exact to what they're expecting in the construction of their design. However, other companies may come out here, and I've seen this in the past, where they're just going to use a generic pipe type, and they're not necessarily going to think about, do I need to use copper? Do I need to use like a Schedule 40 pipe, or do I need this type of pipe or whatnot? So something to kind of be mindful of. That way, when you start looking at your fluid information, your pressures and everything like that, do I need copper? Do I need stainless? Or do I need some type of hardened steel or something along those lines? Or just to kind of keep in mind. So that's what schedules like this also do as well, is they show you kind of how that system's been built out. So let's go on to our accessories thermostat mixing valve. So this one isn't populated per se, but there is fluid information, valve information, fairly similar. Most of our schedules here, they do have the location information, so you'll see that built kind of throughout, as well as description, manufacturing, model. The idea behind all of our schedules here is we want to make sure some of these key pieces of information are filled in, are taken care of, and what that requires is it requires us to think about who we're working with, and where we're locating some of that information, model information, and quantity information. And then that way, in the future, whenever it goes from design side into the contractor side, they can honestly look at this set of plans and add a cost to it. So this information is definitely key. Also, that way, if you have that information, necessarily you're not out there running around looking for different manufacturers, and so on and so forth. You've already got someone kind of in mind that fits the job, or multiples in mind that might fit the job in this case. So let's go just roll through some of these as well. This is going to be a fixture rough-in schedule. So something that will get created on the design side, depending on who the firm is, but will be utilized heavily on the contracting side, and we'll go through the ID, the description information, quantities on that, which quantities are still, it's great because every time you place something in a plan view, it's amazing when it automatically hits that schedule and you don't necessarily have to go back and do the count. So, and then it gives you some information on what that fixture is. So we've got the sinks, we've got the freezers, laboratory wall hung, and this is an ADA unit. There are 12 in this project at this point. So 3 compartment sink and urinals, water closet wall hung, water closet wall hung ADA. So that information's out here as well. And then that gives contractor the ability to really have something to kind of go off of. So let's kind of scroll through some of this a little bit faster here. So this is a fixture unit summary. Kind of goes over the generics of this information. And then down here at the grand total, we do also see a grand total piece of information giving us the amount. And we've got some of these fixture unit pieces of information here as well. So this is already kind of pre-built. Majority of this will be utilized more on that design side, but for those who are actively looking at this and not making as many calculations and stuff like that on the contractor side, yet you do have something to look through here. Let's take a look here. So this is storm drain calculations. So keep in mind when we're looking at this schedule right here for storm drain calculations, what I'm seeing here and what I'm recognizing at this point is I click in here for flow. I can't adjust that. So you notice if there's nothing that comes up, that's because it's automatically calculating for flow based upon how we set our system up out in our plan views. Now here, next to flow, between flow and area, we've got this blue area right here. So if we needed to add additional gallons per minute, so say I went 10 gallons per minute, well, that updates and changes the flow. So does everybody kind of see how that works there? So I can't adjust flow based on calculated information unless I'm in the input field right here. So once I remove that 10 gallons per minute and bring that back to 0, I automatically will bring this back to 166.9 gallons per minute. So that's some of the benefits here with how we built some of these schedules out. Specifically, some of the calculated information. Not every time that we design something will there be a standard way of kind of looking at the calculations. There will be those occasions, and we've all seen them where those gallons per minute may be different based upon how that was designed, how that fixture was designed or whatnot. So something to kind of keep in mind of, and that's why those are built into not just the schedule, but I can adjust this in the family as well out in the plan views, and it will automatically adjust the schedule also. So it gives you two ways to go in and play with this. All right, let's take a look here at the equipment air compressor schedule that we have out here. So naturally, I don't have an air compressor in here right now, but you can see some of the information back to that ID, back to that system name, manufacturer, model number, some of that key information, type information, and then we get over into our important information such as the pump, the motor, we got unit weight, and then we got the FLA, the MCA, MOCP, volts, pH here. So having this air compressor out there, we know this is for plumbing. And then we also understand as well that, well, this plumbing item is going to push something off for our electrical team. So that information is automatically pre-built into the schedule, and it's pre-built into the family itself. So with it being pre-built into the family, when we place that down into our plan view in our properties palette will just adjust the information, and it will shoot out its calculations and everything along those lines, and then also hit the electrical teams in their schedule for their information, and then they'll also see a view in their plan view as well that there's a motor, just explaining more along the lines that this motor is set up for plumbing, or this motor is set up for mechanical, or so on and so forth. So it's awesome having these shared dimensions because it allows you to interact with other teams without necessarily having to pre-calculate and everything along those lines right then and there. And by having that back end kind of built in into your library, you then should have most of that key information out of whatever catalog you're following for that motor in general. So that's kind of a benefit there, and then keeps working that way. So, and then you also have remarks here. So if you needed to add remarks, you're more than welcome to add remarks in there. And having that remarks field be just kind of an open field gives you guys the ability to add whatever you really need in there. So if it's something temporary, or if there's a possibility of sizing up or sizing down, or if it's owner furnished, contractor installed, all that information can be stored in here. And then by storing some of that information in here, you could always have your drafters come out, grab some of those remarks, and then if they need to push those into notes or keep notes or something like that, that is an option there as well. So here's our condensation pump schedule here. So similar aspect, there are share parameters in here, so you'll get all your information for your pump, which is what you guys need for the plumbing side, and then it will shoot off your motor information, so that way you guys are accounting for your motor information for both a plumbing and a standpoint, or plumbing and a electrical standpoint, and then you can add whatever remarks you need in here as well, kind of like the air compressor equipment schedule that you guys have out here. So, and then these are great for both the design side, because you guys have to take that into consideration. Great for your commissioning team when they're bringing some of this stuff on, and then also great for the contractor, so they can see what the engineer was thinking as they were kind of building some of this stuff out. So, all right, let's take a look here. These are some of the other options that we have out here. So we've got this domestic circulating pump. Let me see if we've got something a little bit out there. So you'll see this domestic circulating pump schedule here. We have something already kind of in here right now. It's going to tell us model. It's going to give us manufacturer's name, system name, all that type of information, location within the project. So if we need to go back and see where this is at, we can always go back and see where this is at. And then we've got, here's our pump information, so 1.5 gallons per minute, and that's its design flow. Head here at 9.6 feet. And then we've got our power information, our RPMs, some of that key information there, and then this is what it pushes off. So, and here's one with remarks. It says provide an aquastat and timer kit. So if there's additional items that are needed, that's pretty quick to add that information in a note that everybody will understand. So let's scroll through here real quick. So this is another one of those schedules, kind of similar aspect. And these equipment schedules are heavily used in the design world when they're designing, and then they get heavily used in the contractors world when the contractors are setting stuff up and seeing what the designer came up with, and further detail information. So this is also great if you're one of those companies that does integrated work. So architect, MEP design firm, and contractor all in one, doing some design build projects where the contractor gets on board at the beginning stages of the project with the architect and the engineer. This allows everybody to really see kind of what's going on and have that input at a sooner level. And then that way, if there needs to be changes or whatnot, having everything in a schedule for guys who necessarily don't look at the plans per se all day, every day, is awesome to have out here and kind of reduce that workflow down significantly. But so here's some of this stuff. So sump pump is another option, and you can see all the information here in the sump pump. So most of our equipment schedules kind of follow a fairly similar pattern. So with information, so we're including our plumbing, we're including our electrical. So just kind of rolling through here. Now let's get down to this fixture schedule here. So this fixture schedule, and this is for domestic fixtures. It's going to give us some of that general information as well. And this can be you could add fields to this, move fields around, so on and so forth. Gives you some quantity. So quantity is great for when we're doing estimates and stuff like that. But then there's also an additional field here for motion sensor control. So you've got that information out here, water flow, time duration, cold water, hot water, just a whole slew of different pieces of information. And then also here we've got a field dedicated for more specification as well. So this is all pre-built into the Revit family also. So if you need to update your specification information, you can update your specification information. If you need to add different types out there, you can add different types. So if you guys find yourself utilizing, say, a different manufacturer, or if you find yourself using different model numbers, you can add types based on manufacturer, model number, stuff like that. So those are some great options. And then once you send that over from design into the construction industry, those guys there can take this information and accurately look at the system as well, and get their estimates, make a determination, will this work, will this not? And then in the situation where now the industry is pushing towards coordination, if we don't have enough room for something, or if we got to create space or whatnot, they have something that they can look at along these lines in Revit, and then that allows them to work with their drafter to find an alternative and pop that in there that fits what needs to happen from that coordination standpoint. All right, so I'm looking through here. So here's some more schedules here, and kind of the same aspect. And then finally, we're going to pull down here to this plumbing master schedule. It's nice to have a master schedule just because there's quite a bit of information that we're necessarily looking at, and this gives us the ability here, master schedule wise, to kind of see some of what we have in here. So, and if you can see here all the different system information, so this is where our systems are at. We have materials are added in here as well, different finishes. So when you start talking about certain fixtures and stuff like that, where you want finishes included and stuff, this is all out here, and then you guys can adjust based upon what options come with that manufacturer's fixtures. So that information's here, and then there's a whole slew of different pieces of information, so pipe connections, stuff like that, flow calcs, flush information, waste vent, all kinds of stuff like that. Cold water, hot water, filtered. So just a bunch of variable information, and then we have specification stuff that we can have in here as well. We can add additional remarks. So that's kind of the idea here for the fixture master schedule, and you can always create master schedules of say accessories, master schedules of equipment and stuff like that. Those are all options, and then you can push and pull with some of these CTC tools in the BIM project suite. So this is my general overview of schedules here for plumbing. So great for coordination, great for design. With coordination coming on as strong as it is, having schedules out there that are usable, that the techs and stuff can see and adjust, can go a long way. So, and then as more and more estimators and stuff kind of start to accept Revit for some of its capabilities, then this will push the scheduling even further, and will push that ability to add additional parameters to get to the different dimensions of what Revit can actually do within a family that's built. So, does anybody have any questions at this point or comments? Well, I'd like to thank everybody for sitting in on this webinar today, and I look forward to hearing from you guys in the future. We do have upcoming webinars for the electrical and the mechanical schedules. So just kind of keep an eye out on those, and yeah, we look forward to seeing you guys for some of those webinars. So, thank you. Have a great day.